Call the zoning board for the month of December to order. The board that is sitting tonight to hear the cases is Member Stephen Leanis, Member Monique Screenberry, Fire Chief Brian Nardelli, Member James Sweeney, and Member Kenneth Galligan, myself, who is Chair. Our Zoning Enforcement Officer and the Building Superintendent and Clerk to the Zoning Board, Mr. James Plouffe. Our recording secretary tonight is Monica Fagazzo. For anyone that has a cell phone or electronic device, I would ask that either you shut it off or put it on silence so that it doesn't bother the meeting. If it's necessary that you use your cell phone, I would appreciate it if you take your conversation out to the hallway. I will tell you that this meeting is being televised live on Brockton cable television, and from time to time over the next month, it will be repeated at various times, and you can pick it up on the TV. Prior to the start of the hearing tonight, there is an opportunity for anyone who is scheduled to be heard tonight to withdraw from tonight's hearing. Is there anyone here tonight that wants to withdraw? Seeing none, we have 7 cases before us tonight. The way the meeting will be run is I will call the petition. The petitioner will come up to the podium and you will give a statement to the board. You will explain what your hardship is in the case of a variance or what are the unique circumstances as to why you are here tonight. When you finish presenting your case, I will ask the board members if they have any questions about the testimony that was just given. Once that has been taken care of, I will close that portion of the hearing. I will now open it up for public discussion. At this point in the public hearing, I will ask if anyone wants to speak in favor. Following that, I'll ask if there's anyone that wants to speak in opposition. Following that, I will ask if there's any public official in the audience that wants to be heard on the issue. And lastly, I'll ask if anyone has any question relative to the testimony that has been given. Once that has been concluded, I will close that portion of the hearing. That will end the public discussion, and then I will open it up for deliberation among the board members. At this point, the only discussion that's going to be taken on the case is among the board members. At some point during that deliberation, you will most likely hear a board member make a motion to grant. If that is seconded, I will then call upon the clerk to call the roll. You will then hear each member vote either in the affirmative or in the negative. If there are 5 votes in the affirmative, the petition will be granted. If there are 4 votes and 1 negative, 4 in favor, 1 in the negative, the petition will be granted. Anything less than that will be denied. So if you have 3 votes in favor and 2 in opposition, the petition will be denied. At the end of the voting, the clerk will tell me what the vote is. I will then announce whether or not the petition has been denied or granted. All right. Board members all set to get started? Yep. Okay, we're good. All right, the first case to be heard this evening is petition 2353. Petition of Bumblebee Enterprises, LLC, 43 Irene Street, New Bedford, Mass., appealing the decision of the zoning enforcement officer that the prior existing non-conforming commercial use of the building has expired. The building is located at 144 Haywood Avenue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Just identify yourself to the clerk.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, my name is Attorney Steve Brown, and I'm here representing the petitioner, Bumblebee Enterprises, Inc. As the chairman said, this petition concerns 144 Hayward Ave. 144 Hayward Ave. The history of this particular property as a business property goes back to at least 1939. And the 1939 conveyance of the property was from a certain Arthur Smith to a certain Lincoln Webbing Company, Inc. And in 1956, there was a a conveyance from Lincoln Webbing Company, Inc. to a certain Rubin and Minsky. The property itself is comprised of 3 lots. There's a central main lot and and 2 side lots that came into common title in 1956 with Rubin and Minsky. I do have a 1956 plan of the property. If it would behoove the members of the board to pass it around, may I approach the?
You can give that to the clerk.
Thank you. So all 3 lots came into common ownership with Rubin and Minsky in 1956. Rubin and Minsky conveyed to a certain Minsky and Minsky in 1963, and Minsky conveyed to a certain David Clayman, who is present, and I expect you'll hear from him later tonight. And Mr. David Clayman held this commercial property as for commercial use under different commercial entities until 2020, at which point it was conveyed to my client, Bumblebee Enterprises, Inc., owned by Mr. Aldo Arriaga. Aldo is present. Mr. Clayman used the property for storage of commercial materials and commercial items, many of which are still on the property being stored there today. And my client, Aldo Arriaga, through his business, Bumblebee Enterprises, has used the property for storing materials related to his contracting business. In September of 2023, we entered a purchase and sale agreement with a certain Jerusalem Furniture. Our buyer's agent and Jerusalem's Furniture's buyer's agent, our seller's agent, are also here in support of this appeal. $50,000 deposit has been paid. It's held in escrow, and this zoning issue came up at the last minute with me as the closing attorney, and I'm here to ask the Honorable Zoning Board of Appeals to allow this appeal so the closing can go through and Jerusalem Furnitures can buy the property and use it for its intended use, which is to store furniture, and I believe they will come in at a later date, depending on the results tonight, to present their vision and goal for this building. Before going forward, I'd like to submit some photos, just so the board has some idea of the layout of the property. I actually took these photos this past Friday. It was my first time on the premises, and you can see the first photo is the photo from Hayward Ave. The second photo is the eastern side of the property as it is today, the second and third, and the fourth photo is from the western side of the property, and the fifth photo is the inside, and the sixth photo are the materials that are stored since Mr. Clayman's ownership. And so I will submit these photos to the clerk for your consideration, please, and thank you.
I'll just caution you that all of this should have been part of the package that is what we're working on tonight. As a matter of courtesy, I will allow that to be circulated, but the material that we're working on tonight is what has been submitted.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you indulging me in that. So a little bit about the building itself. This is it's a commercial building. It's 10,000 square feet of clear span commercial space. There's absolutely no residential aspect to the building. There's no bedrooms. There's no kitchen. There's no bathroom. It's a warehouse. It's been used for storage. It has been taxed as a commercial property for through all the history of ownership that I know of. In other words, my client, since he's owned it in 2020, he's paid real estate taxes as a commercial building, and Mr. Clayman, who owned it since 2005, he paid commercial real estate taxes. Jerusalem Furniture is very excited about buying the building, investing money into it, and keeping it in good condition and putting it to use. My client's sale of the building came up in connection with some health problems he had that forced him to have to dial back his business projects in anticipation of the possibility of further health problems. And so I've been assisting him in that project with his business. So with regard to the pros and cons for allowing the appeal, the appeal is beneficial to the city of Brockton. It's keeping this uniquely and specifically purposed building in use on the tax rolls and kept up. Again, Jerusalem Furniture is very excited about the building, and they have a plan for it. It's also good for the community. It's having the property go from ownership to ownership that will be using it is far more preferable to ending up in a situation which is the alternative, where you would have a building on a property that's zoned for a use that is for all practical purposes, impossible to use it for. This building cannot be used for residential use. And it goes without saying that it's good for the business owners involved and the property owners involved who have invested a lot of time and assets and hopes into this transaction going through. Mr. Chairman has advised me to keep to a limit the amount of things I put into evidence. However, if the board would like to consider it, I do have a copy of the purchase and sale agreement from when Mr. Clayman sold the property to Mr. Arriaga, and there's a provision in there that certain business materials will actually be kept on the property. So you actually have the same stuff being stored there to a certain degree. I have a copy of that purchase and sale agreement, and with that provision highlighted, I also have a copy of the present purchase and sale agreement between my client and Jerusalem, if the members of the board would like me to put those into evidence. With regard to the specifics of the legal issues here, I understand the commissioner's legal argument, and that looking at the zoning ordinance, but my reading of the zoning ordinance is that the specific use in this particular case would be the storage of commercial materials. The storage of commercial materials has been the same. There's been no abandonment of that specific use, either from Mr. Minsky and Rubin to Mr. Clayman, or from Mr. Clayman to Mr. Arriaga, and there will be no abandonment of that use from Mr. Arriaga to Jerusalem Furnitures. Also, if we look at the zoning ordinance and the provision on pre-existing non-conforming uses, there is language in the first provision of that section that the ZBA shall allow a slightly different use as long as it's not of detriment. So there's language that I would interpret in the ordinance that shows an intent in the drafters of the ordinance that there should be some flexibility and promotion of keeping pre-existing non-conforming uses in place in the ordinance itself. But for the greater part of the argument, really the merits here are this is a building that's been a commercial building. The property has been in commercial use for at least 84 years, probably longer. There's no other practical use for that building, and we've got a buyer who's going to fix it up even more and put it to good use. And therefore, I'd ask you, ladies and gentlemen of the Honorable Brockton Zoning Board of Appeals, to allow this appeal so this sale can go through. Thank you.
Board members, any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I may. So you mentioned a renovation. What would be the scope of that renovation, or what would be the budget?
With regard to the specifics of Jerusalem Furniture's plan, I'd have to, I had hoped to have this appeal on the same night as their application for zoning relief. However, they did not make the deadline for that application. I do not know the specifics of their plans. If that would be, if the specifics of Jerusalem Furniture's upgrades to the property are material to the board's decision, I'd respectfully request that this appeal be continued to be heard on that same date, which was my original intent, and I did request a continuance, but I was informed that the custom was that applications would have to be withdrawn. There were no continuances, and if we withdrew, we'd miss the appeal date. So
Let me just slow you down. Is the exterior part of the renovation?
let me see if the buyer's agent knows that. Do you know the details of the
Basically,
same footprint? With the exterior?
the exterior done
With
and the interior.
Okay, so the footprint would be the same, the exterior and the interior would be redone and modernized.
Okay. And what was the hardship, if you could restate that?
There is none yet.
I don't think you need one on an administrative
Okay.
appeal,
All right.
but I
Thank
could,
you. That's probably why I didn't hear it.
I could come up with one.
Oh, that's all right. Thank you.
So what we have to determine tonight is whether or not the building inspector made the proper decision that the use that this building was used for in 1967 has changed materially since that time. It became non-conforming. It was apparently some kind of a leather operation when it was in operation when the new zoning came in 1967. And what they're explaining to us is that it was used for something materially different than what it was used for in 1967. And I guess that's what we got to make our decision upon. So, is there any other questions from the board members? We good? All right, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Please give your name to the clerk.
My name is David Clayman. I was asked to come here to testify that when I purchased the building, I believe it was in 2005, I bought it from the Minskys. They were storing finished leather goods and partially manufactured goods that they would sell off to other shoe manufacturers, and they were doing some light manufacturing as well. When I bought the building, I used the building for storage. I stored medical equipment, and I stored construction equipment there as well. Not equipment, I had windows, and I have a home building. I had a home building. I've since retired, but I stored windows. I stored shingles and anything you could picture for a single-family house. And I did that up until the point I retired and sold the building to Mr. Arriaga. So I did work out a deal with him that I could leave some products there that I had no storage for. So some of those are actually still there. And so I continued the use of the storage. I also had some light manufacturing for my medical equipment. I had a service tech that would go over there at least 2 to 3 times a week and work on equipment. And, you know, it was never abandoned while I owned the property from 2005 until 2020 when I got rid of the building. The building actually is a solid building. It does need some exterior work, but the building itself is structurally sound. There's no reason that whoever would want to put some money into the building couldn't make it a much nicer looking building.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that wants to speak in favor?
Good evening, everyone. My name's Delfrida Dancy. I am the selling broker for Jerusalem Mattress Furniture. My client is looking to utilize the space strictly for storage of his high-end furniture. He currently operates a retail space in Brockton in a plaza off of Pleasant Street. There would be minimal traffic other than when they need to bring the furniture into the warehouse, as well as to take it out when they need it for their store. So primarily, he is just looking for storage. There wouldn't be a lot of vehicle entrances or traffic to the property affecting the residential neighbors.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wants to speak in favor?
Good evening. My name is Aldo Arriaga, and I purchased the building from Mr. McLean. And I used the building for storage, all my materials and my equipment, and the building has never been abandoned. I go at least twice a month to pick up materials, drop off materials, because most of my jobs are in the North Shore. So the building has been well maintained on the outside, and you know, due to health issues, I gotta, you know, cut down on my working things, and that's the reason that I'm selling the building. It's a good building, and it's a shame if someone decides to demolish the building, because it's a good-looking building. Okay, thank you.
I have a question. What are you using the building for now?
Oh, just store equipment for my construction sites. Just equipment and materials.
Are the trucks that I see in the backyard your trucks?
There was at one point trucks, because when we go and load up equipment and unload equipment, you know. But there's no trucks anymore.
Well, I visited the other day, and there was some large trucks that were parked in the backyard, down the alleyway in the rear.
On the rear, yeah, there's one truck. There's still one truck over there that I have that I gotta get it out of there. You know, that's it. It's just one.
So you've been using the building to store construction equipment, and you have your trucks in the yard?
Well, that's that's part of my operation, the trucks.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone that wants to speak in opposition? Please give your name.
Mr. Chair, good evening. I'm the Deputy Building Commissioner for the city. I have listened to the petitioner's request to overturn the decision of the Building Commissioner, which I'm here to represent tonight. Under the statutes, Chapter 48, Section 6, any abandonment of a use or any change from one non-conforming use to another requires a special permit. Here tonight, the petitioner is asking you to do not only overturn the decision of the building inspector, but to see if they can acquire a special permit simultaneously. That is not statutorily correct. Unfortunately, they have the cart before the horse here a little bit. In the decision that the building commissioner made at the time was an informed decision based on the factual findings of records. The petitioner presented no evidence to this board tonight as to whether or not that, not only was that use similar in nature, but was it sanctioned by a legal nonconforming use? Now, one would argue that the use of a tannery from the 40s and 50s would be similar to the use of construction trucks and storage and equipment. That would not be a similar use. It's not allowed in a residential zone, and this board does have the power to grant one non-conforming use to another, but here for this hearing tonight would not be appropriate. The appropriate decision to be made here is whether or not the building commissioner cited his decision correctly at the time that this letter of denial was written, and was he based in fact. And yes, in fact, it says that any abandonment of non-conforming uses for greater of a period than 2 years, must conform back to the district. However, a special permit can be granted for a change of one non-conforming use to another. Here, the petitioner provided you no prima facie evidence that this was a business. Just because you stuff stuff in a building doesn't necessarily mean that you haven't abandoned the use. I saw no proof from the petitioner that there was an active storage business there. There were no trucking manifests. There are no things that otherwise would be presented as evidence as to the non-conforming use. In addition to that, the use had changed from a tannery to a construction building, storage, yard, whatever it might be, without the proper permits. That decision might have been left to the building inspector had the use been similar, but that margin is very, very, very narrow for a building commissioner to make. Anytime there's a change from one non-conforming use to another, it's statutorily required in Chapter 48, Section 6. Uses are only protected when they are first legal from the beginning, that they're continued in that same use within that same context and that narrow, so if you have a convenience store, you can't open up a fast food restaurant. That's not a similar use. And they have to not be impactful to the neighborhood. Here tonight, if the ZBA decided to overturn the decision of the building commissioner, you could be allowing another non-conforming use that may be more impactful to what is there now. If it's been a sleepy little warehouse with a couple of contractor trucks, now we're talking about furniture trucks. We don't know the frequency of those trips. The petitioner hasn't presented anything, that otherwise the requirements of a special permit might be required. Honestly, I am against granting this overturning of the commissioner's decision based in statutory fact and law, and the fact that the petitioner has not provided any substantive evidence that the use has been continued without interruption and without abandonment. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wants to speak in opposition? Please give your name to the clerk.
Sure. Donald Battles. I live across the street from this facility. It's actually an eyesore to the neighborhood, as far as I'm concerned. If they were to do some modernization of the outside, as they said they would do, I don't know if that would improve it any. I suspect it benefits Brockton from a tax standpoint, but again, as far as it being in that neighborhood, it's an eyesore. Just my view on it, and that's about all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, is there any elected official that wants to be heard on the issue? Councilor.
Good evening. My name is Susan Nicastro. I represent Ward 4 on the Brockton City Council. I live not far from this property. I also serve as the council president for a couple more weeks. And I was flipping through my cell phone as you were speaking. It was set on quiet. I started getting calls in February of '22 from an architect in New Bedford named Ricardo Santos, and he was representing Mr. Orega. And I met with them at least twice. I talked to the architect about a dozen times. At one point, one of the deputy fire chiefs came with me to meet with them because they were considering, Mr. Orega had bought the property, and they were considering a mixed-use renovation, or maybe all commercial, or maybe all residential. So prior to my first meeting with them, I did some research on my own, and so meeting with them at the property, it's really cool on the inside, it's all wood. But I know the property's history because I'm married to someone whose family was in the shoe business and was friends with the Minskys. And so I just kept saying to these gentlemen, have you checked zoning? Have you done an environmental, a 21E? Because of what I know of the property, and because it went through times when it wasn't being consistently used. In fact, checking with Mr. Plouffe, it was on the abandoned property list for some time, not all that recently. And so for that reason, I kept reminding them they really need to check these things, they need to look into it, and then I found out that they were going to sell it. You know, all over Brockton, but especially in Ward 4, Hayward Avenue, Brookside Avenue, Summer Street are three that just come to mind. We had little shoe manufacturing businesses, or little businesses that service the shoe industry in the last 100 years. And little neighborhoods grew up around them, and people walked to work. And that was very common in a lot of communities in the United States. But they, you know, the businesses moved out, then they moved offshore, and most of the buildings are not used for very much anymore. And in many instances, the land under them is contaminated because of the prior use. I suspect this is another example of it, but I support the commissioner's decision that it was a pre-existing non-conforming use that lapsed by the passage of time and by having other uses in there without obtaining permission. And so, and also look at the neighborhood if you had the opportunity to drive. Hayward is a residential neighborhood, and it's all nice houses, and this is a blight and an eyesore, and it's a shame. So I would have supported Mr. Orega and his architect doing something different, as they had led me to believe they were interested in doing, but this isn't a site for a moving business or for a storage business to have big trucks pulling in and out. If you looked at a plot plan of this property, literally the house next to it, which is on the corner of Hayward Avenue and Copeland, the Pigeon family, they've lived there forever. The driveway for this property, the driveway to the right of it is their backyard. And there are times when they had tractor trailers parked there, and I would get complaints because it was actually on their grass. Now, how is a moving truck going to get in there? It's not appropriate, and unfortunately, I support the commissioner's decision, and I hope that you will too. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other elected official who wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone that has any questions relative to the testimony that's been given? Seeing, yes. Do you have a question?
Yes. In terms of documentation, the officials have stated, as well as the inspector, I checked those records and I saw nothing. So my question is, where is the documentation regarding a 21E or any contamination from the EPA, and or filings stating that it had lost its zoning? I did not see those records when I checked for my client. So my statement is, are they available?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Am I going to have a chance for a rebuttal, or does it have to be in the...
No, there's no real rebuttal. You have presented your case. We've heard both sides of the case. I'm at the position now where I am going to close the public hearing, and that we're going to open it up for deliberations by the board members. So the testimony that has been given is what we are going to base our decisions upon. So I'm going to close that portion of the public hearing. I'm now going to open it up to deliberations by the board members. Board members.
I think reactivating this property is detrimental to the neighborhood in its use.
I agree wholeheartedly.
So I think what we want to consider here is we are tasked with making a decision as to whether or not the decision of the building inspector was appropriate. His decision was that it has lost its non-conforming use. It's in a residential zone. So what they propose to do at a future date is up to them. They could come back to us looking for a variance or whatever. But for tonight's hearing, we are strictly looking at the decision of the zoning enforcement officer.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve. Now, as far as the vote is concerned,
This is my
a yes vote will support the position of the petitioner. A no vote will support the position of the building inspector. So a yes vote is in favor of the petitioner. A no vote is in the favor of the building inspector. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Lanus.
No.
Chief Nadelli.
No.
Mr. Sweeney.
No.
Ms. Greenberry.
No.
Chair Callaghan.
No.
Mr. Chair, that's 0 in the affirmative, 5 in the negative.
The vote is none in the affirmative, 5 in the negative. The petition is denied, and the decision of the building inspector is upheld.
Would I be able to ask a procedural question at this time, Mr. Chairman?
What is it?
Would I be able to ask a procedural question at this time, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, go ahead.
If you could please use the microphone.
I was just going to ask with regard to steps moving forward for a special permit or a variance, and would the buyer submit the application for the special permit or variance directly to the building commissioner's office, or would they need a rejection letter for some sort of permit first? Do you understand my question?
Yes, you will get a decision based upon tonight's vote.
Okay.
So that decision will now assist you in how you're going to move forward, if you intend to move forward.
And so with regard to the buyer and their proposed use for the property, they base that appeal to the ZBA on the decision from
That would certainly be material to it, correct? No? Go ahead.
No, you could proactively apply for a variance or a special permit without a rejection,
Okay.
or you could apply for a building permit and get rejected. Either way can come to the board.
Okay, so I'll advise them just to go, since it's more expedient, just directly to the board. Thank you.
Yep. All right, the next petition is 2354, the petition of Leonardo Andrade, 99 Brookside Avenue, Brockton, Mass., seeking relief from Section 2727 to construct an addition in an R3 zone located at 99 Brookside Avenue. Is that zone correct?
Good evening,
What
everyone.
is that? Hold on 1 second, please. Can you check the zoning? Is that?
Yeah, check this on it.
I got R1C.
Let's see.
We're just checking there may be a Scrivener's error on this, so just hold on.
Thank you.
Yep. This is the application, says R1C, but tonight it says R3. You're referencing that, but it has nothing to do with what we're talking about tonight. Yeah, okay. All right, just to clarify the petition says to construct an addition in an R3 zone when in fact this construction is in an R1C zone. Just to straighten out that scrivener's error. R1C. Okay, please identify yourself and present your case.
Hi, my name is Leonardo Andrade. I live in 99 Brookside Ave, Brockton, 02301. I'm here because the property where I live in, I only have a 2-bedroom. And when I first purchased, my boys, it was too little. And I was worried more to send them to college. Now they both graduated from college, which I am a proud mom. Unfortunately, my mom, 91, my father passed away, and she's the one who brought me to this country, which I'm very proud of. And after my father passed away, I couldn't send my mom to a nursing home yet because she still, she still functions, she still have her head. And I moved my mom with me, and I squeezed myself, and I gave my mom my bedroom. I have my son, 24, graduated from college, Providence College, and he took psychiatrist and he wanted to be a doctor. And we squeeze in the bedrooms. And I'm asking you all to take a look at the side plan. And I figured like I have this piece of land on the side of my property, and if I can do additional bedrooms for my family. I understand my boys are old enough, but when you have a son, as myself, a single mother, I used to live with them in an apartment. They still want to continue education. With this economy, all of us hurt. So I'm asking to work, and I don't want to move out of Brockton because I've been here for almost 30-odd years with my family. I don't want to sell my house to go any other town to start all over again as a single mother. And I'm trying to work with all of you to give me or to allow me to build addition bedrooms for my family.
That it? Okay.
I'm sorry I didn't hire an attorney. I represent myself. I didn't hire an attorney because I can't afford to to have one. And I also have my 2 tenants in the corner right there to support me. And I'm here to work with you all to allow me to build extra bedrooms for my family.
Okay, there is specific sections of zoning that you should be looking for relief from. The story that you tell is a personal story, but what this board needs to consider is what you propose to do on the property and how it plays into the current zoning that requires constraints on what you can do at that location. So there is side yard setbacks, there are rear yard setbacks, there's an expansion of how big you can double the size of the house, triple the size of the house. Your house currently is a 2-family house?
Correct.
So it's in an R1C zone, which is single-family residential zone. So it's what we call a non-conforming use. It's a 2-family and a single-family residential area. So there's several things at play here. The addition that you're proposing to put on here is 34 feet by 24 feet, roughly. And the plans that I looked at show a complete separate living area with kitchens, bathrooms, bedrooms in the new addition. So it would appear that the first and second floors of the new addition would be the new area that you want to build, which would be totally separate from the current house that's there now. I don't see any connection between what you're going to build to what you have now. It will share a wall, but the new addition in the plans here is a complete separate living area of 2 floors. Am I reading that correctly?
For what I understand in the plan, I'll be connected to the house that I'm in.
Yes, you will.
So I consider it as addition.
What I'm getting at here, it's a full, separate living quarters. It's like you built a separate building, separate from your house. It has a kitchen, living room, bathrooms, a couple of bedrooms. It isn't just that you're adding a bedroom or 2, it's a complete living first and second floor operation. Is that what you're talking about doing?
Since the reason I'm doing it, because since I'm trying to borrow money from the bank, and with this economy, I said I might have kitchen, a little kitchen, and 3-bedroom upstairs, since I'm, borrow this money and do all at once.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes, that's correct, sir.
Members, any questions?
I think, are you looking to make this into another rentable space?
No, like I said, the reason I brought my boys into this because, if you take a look at the picture that I'm in, and the house that I'm in, first floor, only have a 2-bedroom, and my son just graduated from college, and he still want to pursue his education, and so we squeeze in the bedroom, and the addition that I'm gonna make, yes, is for myself and for my 2 boys, for my family, yes.
And I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
When we look at the plans, I think the thing you have to understand is we're looking at almost another whole house connected to your house. It's an entire kitchen, great room area, and everything with 3 bedrooms upstairs. This isn't, again, to the chairman's, you're in a non-conforming as it is, and with a 2-family, basically, and now it looks like what you're trying to add is another whole 3rd family in there. And whether that's the case or not, that's not for me to decide, but we have to make a decision based on what the setbacks are and what you're trying to build, and it's quite large. You're not trying to add 2 bedrooms for your sons. You're adding almost a whole other house connected to your current house. So that's, I think, what I'm trying to get at.
Okay. If I would decide to make 1 bedroom or 2, it would matter. Instead, I know I make the decision to 3, it would matter.
And an entire kitchen on the first floor is, I guess, what I'm getting at. So that
if I wouldn't have
almost doubling the size of this current building you have.
Okay, yeah. If I wouldn't put a kitchen, or it would matter.
We have to make a decision based on what's in front of us this evening.
Okay.
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 Thank you.
My mind, like I said, I said to myself, I'm gonna borrow this money. In the future, might get older. I don't want my kids to go anywhere. As a mother, and I said, you know what? Since I was talking to an architect. I was like, since I'm gonna borrow this money when this high interest rate, I might as well put in a small kitchen. Mm-hmm. But I'm not trying to do anything that it will not be complied with the city. Mm-hmm. And I love the city. I don't want to move out with my family.
Do you know what the square footage is currently?
No,
I don't know. In the addition,
I'm sorry?
do you know what the
No,
current?
no,
Do you know what the square footage is of the addition?
no.
And could you explain again what your hardship was?
My hardship is, like I said, is my father passed away, and my boys in college, I have a school loan, and with this economy, I think all of us been hurting. And I don't want to send my mom to a nursing home.
Okay, thank you.
There's a couple of things at work here. First of all, she is unable to provide us with a hardship, and the hardship is related really to the property, to the land, the size of the lot, irregular shape. It isn't a personal hardship. It is a hardship relative to the property itself.
Oh, I apologize. I misunderstood what
Okay.
what the hardship was, all about. I thought it was the financial situation.
So you need...
So that's why.
You need a minimum of 10,000 square feet for a two-family, and you've only got 6,495 feet. You're way undersized for what you want to do. There is a section of our law, zoning, that says that if you're in a non-conforming area, which you are, you're allowed one addition to be not more than 50% of what is currently there. And it appears as though the addition that you want to add on to this house is almost the same size as the house that's there. So it's, and as was brought up a few minutes ago here, what we have to consider as a board is that this proposed addition is going to become a total separate living area. Down the road, if you wanted to sell this property, there's a possibility this could be sold as a three-family house rather than a two-family house. So that may not be in your plans right now, but these are things that we have to consider when we deal with zoning. So your setback from the backyard, you're going to be very close to your neighbor's property line in the backyard. The side yard setbacks, you're only 7.5 feet, you need at least 15 feet. So there's some real issues here relative to the size of this proposed addition as it sits on the lot. So we fully understand.
The surveyor told me we can instead start from the back, which the property is already the existing property is there, so we can move it forward to the porch, which is in the front.
Say that again.
So instead, started from the back, we move it forward, started from the porch from the front. I think that's what he designed there. I didn't take a look at the side plan, like to explain to you, because this is new for me, and I never thought I would be here. And I believe he's professional, and with a side plan, and I thought if all of you take a look at it, and I don't have to explain myself in the particular way. That's why I didn't take like a time to review or to...
Okay, just so that you just fully understand, what we have to look at is the size of the lot that the house currently sits on and what you propose to put as an addition onto this house. And how is this addition going to negatively impact the requirements for the zoning? And right now, you have a negative impact on your neighbor to the side, to the street, to your neighbor to the back. Also, the size of the addition in relation to the house. The house is non-conforming, so you're limited to how big the addition can be. So there's several issues that are at work here as far as the physical location of your house on the lot, and that's what we have to look at. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Board members, any other questions? Everybody's good? I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official that wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone has a question relative to the testimony that's been given so far tonight? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. That concludes the public discussion on the issue. I'll now open it up for discussion among the board members. Board members.
I think there's ways to add space in addition. I just think as it sits, it's, historically, it's almost 100% doubling your square footage, and we've never really gone that far, so. But there's ways to add an addition if you needed space, but I just think this plan, which is what we have to vote on, is too large.
Yeah, I agree. I think this far exceeds the 50% that she's allowed. And they were unable to state a hardship. I think that's a little too much for this lot.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to grant. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Lanus.
No.
Chief Nadelli.
No.
Mr. Sweeney.
No.
Ms. Greenberry.
No.
Chair Callaghan.
No.
Mr. Chair, that's 0 in the affirmative, 5 in the negative.
Vote is 0 in the affirmative, 5 in the negative. The petition as presented is denied. All right, the next petition is 2355, the petition of Chanel Mendonca Garcia, 34 Gladwood Street, Brockton, Mass., for a variance seeking relief from Section 27-9, front and side setbacks to construct an addition in an R1B zone located at 34 Gladwood Street.
Hi, good evening.
Please step up, give your name to the clerk, and speak into the microphone.
Hi, I'm Chanel Mendoza Garcia. I'm here representing myself and my husband as the owners and residents of 34 Gladwood Street to seek a dimensional variance from Article 3, Section 27-9 for relief of front and side yard setbacks in an R1B zone to construct a one-room family room addition of 345 square feet. Just from the previous, I would say our current house is 1,374 square feet on a total lot of 8,310 square feet. So I think it fits within all of the requirements for an addition as far as the sizing goes. For hardships, I do understand that all materials had to be in the packets, which I did. But I have one additional photo. I made 7 copies to be distributed if they could be considered related to the hardships.
Okay.
And these are only late because they were a result of the rain on Sunday.
Okay, just so you understand that the hardship that this board is going to be looking for is something that is unique to your property that's different than other people's property, usually related to the soil conditions, the size of the lot, the shape of the lot, why you need special consideration, simply because on your addition it's showing only 8.2 feet from the sideline and you need 15 feet. So you need to explain that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, so to present the hardships, the pictures that you're seeing right now relate to the first hardship. So due to the depression of the topography of the land in our backyard, meaning all of the backyards from my neighbors are at a declining slope towards our yard, we have significant water accumulation during rainstorms that makes the soil in the back unbuildable. As you can see, we do have our shed and our playground there, but they end up underwater with big rain. So this was actually just from Sunday to Monday night. even with the drainage and the pump that we have in the back. So for that reason, we could not put the addition in the only space that would be within the zoning ordinance, which is in the back. That's the only place that we would have the space. The placement of our existing dwelling, deck, and driveway, as you can see on the site plan, is at a little bit of an angle, which creates a hardship on the locus. As you can see, the shortest portion of the setback is at, I think, 8.2 feet. And then at the beginning, I think it would be closer to about 10 towards the front of the yard. The size and dimensions of the lot create restricted space available to construct an addition or make reasonable use of the property or improvements to the property. So in other words, strict compliance with the ordinance would totally prevent improvement of the property in a manner which I believe is reasonable, customary, and consistent with other properties in the area, as well as create a practical difficulty on us as homeowners. Although I know it's not considered a hardship per Mass General Law, I would be remiss to mention that building this addition would do substantial justice for our growing family. I'm currently expecting our second child due in February. So it would just allow our home to serve us more comfortably in a way that doesn't present unreasonable financial burden to us or detriment to the neighborhood. So just to ensure that we are within law, I want to state a few additional comments. The proposed addition would be in conformity to other houses in the neighborhood and would not cause any concerns to the safety of the public. As you can see through the pictures provided ahead of time, a majority of the other homes in our neighborhood are similar front to back style, which have had one-room additions either built on one side or the other. Also, many homes which do not comply with the setbacks. They were just built previous. The neighbors to the right of us are 7 feet away from our property. And the people to the left, who are the ones that are affected by this, have 21.2 feet, as you can see by the plot plan. So even their 21.2 plus the 8.2 or 3 that we would have still make up just about that 30 feet in between the actual dwellings that you would need if we had both had the 15. It is just a family room with 2 closets to give us additional living space and storage space, as we'll have 2 kids now. The additional square footage that the addition provides would not only increase the overall property value and desirability of the property, but would also bring the square footage of our home to be more in line with the rest of the homes on Gladwood. So within our neighborhood, we have a lot of the front to back splits, but on Gladwood in particular, you can see like our neighbor's house is much bigger, and that's pretty much how the rest of the houses are there. And then the addition does not derogate from the intent of the zoning ordinance or intent of the land in an R1B zone, nor would it impact the neighborhood negatively. And sorry, I'm so nervous, so my voice is shaking. But I think that just about covers it. I tried to provide as many pictures as possible of similar situations in our neighborhood, of the actual addition, and the plot plan, of course. So if you have any questions.
Very good.
Yeah, just real quick, so obviously you can see in the back, you can't build there back there so you couldn't have gone off the back of the house, like you said. Is there any concern you have in regards to just going by your property? The house that's next to you is much higher with that retaining wall there. Is there any concern of any, I guess, runoff or anything going into this addition that you have currently?
From their house, I don't think so. The only place that we have any trouble is usually in our basement, which unfortunately is finished.
Okay.
We have to set alarms to do an additional drainage pump in the middle of the night when it rains like it did on Sunday. But the flooding mostly happens in the back of the backyard, but we do get water into our basement. It's created through the walkout door we have.
Gotcha.
The addition will not have basement space. The crawl space will be just equivalent to the lift of the house. And then we'll have like double doors from our current living room / dining room / playroom into this addition. So I'm not concerned about the neighbors having runoff into that addition space. But there will still be like the 4 feet of crawl space under the addition.
Yep. Thank you.
I mean, I don't know if this matters, but they do plan to put up a fence too, so they're working on that right now.
Thank you.
I did a site visit of your street, and I have to say that Gladwood has to be one of the most unique streets we have in the city. I mean,
dangerous.
the opening of that street is extremely tight, which has nothing to do with what you're asking. I just thought I'd state that because it's extremely unique.
The surveyor said the same thing. He's like, I've never seen anything like it.
That's the builders from back in the 70s and 80s that built that whole area west of Pearl Street. Don't get me started.
Well, it was plenty wide enough for horses and wagons.
That's debatable.
Do you ever, just curious, do you ever have a problem in and out of that street?
Honestly,
There's no one way or anything?
Yeah, like, I mean, it only one car fits, so many times, like, I only really leave through that street because the way it comes off, Pearl Street's dangerous enough. The way you turn onto our street, you really can't see any cars coming because of all the trees. And one of the neighbors has a fence. So I only ever really use it to leave.
Okay.
And if somebody pulls in as you're right there, like, usually the person who's on Gladwood has to back it up.
Yeah.
Let them through and then go back. But I usually enter through Tiffany Drive and go around Van Cliff.
So the question that I have relative to your hardship, listening to your testimony, it sounds like this addition has to go where it is proposed to go. There is no other alternative for that.
That's correct.
And that's based upon the location of the foundation of the house. It is what it is right there.
Yes.
This addition is not going to be a self-sustaining living area. It's going to be a bedroom, closets, an expansion of the current living room, or what's it going to be?
Yes, so our current living room that's there has become a living room / dining room / playroom because of the water that we sometimes get. We don't love having our son play down there now. And plus, with the kitchen being there, you know, that's where I can watch him. So this would strictly be a family room. And then we're putting 2 closets in the back, just to give us some additional
So
storage.
it's an expansion of the living area?
Yeah.
Okay, very good, thank you. Any other questions, board members? Everybody's good? Okay, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor?
Stand here.
Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official that wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that has a question relative to the testimony that has been given? Seeing none, I will close that portion of the hearing. That completes the public discussion on the issue. I will now open it up for deliberation among board members.
I would say that obviously there's a pretty clear hardship, especially with those pictures, that they can't go anywhere else to do this. And I think, you know, when you drive through that neighborhood, otherwise, outside of the width of the street, everything, it'll all line up. I mean, those houses are all, you know, they all have small additions here and there. I don't think it's going to look anything out of place or take away. It'll actually add to their property value as well. So I like the project, especially for a growing family that wants to stay in the city.
Yeah, I think she outlined it quite well with the hardship. It does conform to other much larger houses in the area. I don't see any issues with it.
Yeah, I don't see this being detrimental to the neighborhood, and many of the other properties there have similar setbacks, so I have no issue with this.
One of the concerns I have is the setback as it relates to the house next door. And as she mentioned, there's about 30 feet between them. And I remember many years ago when we granted a variance to allow those houses to go in on that Gladwood Street. So I don't think even the house that's next door is going to be allowed to expand because of the variance that was granted for that one. So, yeah, it's not many options here with the style house.
Motion to grant.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to grant. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Landis.
Yes.
Chief Nardelli.
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry.
Yes.
Chair Galligan.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that's 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative.
Vote is 5 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The petition is granted.
Thank you guys so much. I literally could cry.
Very good.
You did very well.
Good luck.
Am I supposed to stay?
You can leave.
You can leave.
Can I come with you? Just kidding. Sorry.
Thank you so much. I can stop calling everybody at City Hall now because I call it once a week.
Good luck. Do we know if it's a boy or a girl? Awesome.
Have a boy now.
Congrats. Good stuff.
Thank you.
You know, I just happen to think that before this room empties out at the end of the evening, I think it would be appropriate if the chair just wishes everybody a happy holiday season that's coming up, and my board members and everybody that's in attendance tonight, I hope you have a good holiday season.
You as well.
You too.
All right, the next petition is 2356, the petition of William Callahan, 335 Grange Park, Bridgewater, Mass., seeking relief from Article 3, Section 27-9, for lot size and frontage to construct a single-family home in an R1C zone located at 40 Lenox Street and Plot 37 Hawley Street.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Clerk, Secretary. Attorney John McCluskey, representing Bill Callahan. With me is Scott Ferrier. We're looking for a variance to be allowed to create a single-family lot on this street. This is Hawley Street. Over the several years, I've actually been involved in 2 or 3 other cases on Hawley Street, similar in nature to this, seeking to build a single-family home on an existing lot. So there are 2 lots here. This is 40 Lenox Street, and this is, I think it's assessed as 0 Lenox Street. For many, many years, this is a single-family home, which I think has actually been used as a 2. The owner in the property is getting ready to downsize and sell that, and has been informed that it's a 1. So we're not coming here tonight for anything regarding this lot. Mr. Callahan has this lot under agreement. Hawley Street, the Hawley Street lot, or this property actually, we filed a request for a buildable lot determination not too long ago, and Mr. Plouffe came back and said that the existing structure, which is sort of connected to this building, was used in conjunction with this home. The existing structure, I'm sure many of you are familiar with it. It used to be the Fogg property and was a auto repair garage for many, many years. And it's a dilapidated, awful-looking building, needs to come down, and that's the plan. So with the thought in mind that it was an auto repair property here, and at least a single-family home here, I think that the 2-family, by the way, was used by the same family. I think it was just 2 different kitchens and things like that. So we had a commercial use here and a residential use here. There's an old case, a 2012 case, that I actually brought before the board many years ago. I think you were on the board back then, the Medina case, and the board denied it. Basically, it was a situation where there was a single-family or a 2-family home that had a stairway that went into the next property, the lot next door. And the board denied that, and we went to the land court, and the land court said, wait a minute, the stairway really wasn't a residential use. So similar to this case, the automotive property wasn't a residential use. So even though on the connected and sort of they used it as, I mean, it was commonly owned, but it was single family and automotive. So that's similar to the Medina case, this case is. But what we're looking to do is this is a 66 square 100-foot lot, got frontage on Hawley Street, similar to, I think I got a variance 2 or 3 doors down. Brad Cartwright got one, and Michael Heichel got one across the street many years ago. So we're looking to put a single-family home on this lot, which complies with zoning, meets all of the setbacks. I believe it's a 4-bedroom wood frame structure, and would otherwise meet all of the requirements of the ordinance. The hardship is that the existing building on the property is in terrible disrepair. It really can't be used for anything other than automotive, and we're a residential zone. So I would assume that, I don't know if there's any neighbors here this evening, but I would assume that this would be a welcome change to what's been there for many, many years. There's sort of an access point out to Hawley Street. I believe it crosses over onto this house lot. That would be abandoned. The access would be straight from the lot out onto Hawley Street. And in general, because of the hardship of the existing building and the fact that it doesn't fit in the neighborhood and the structure needs to be torn down, I believe this is an appropriate variance case. I also believe that the board could determine that this is, in fact, on its own, a buildable lot by right. Mr. Pliff and I don't always agree, but we agreed that I would come to zoning board rather than fight with him on this one. So that's all I really have to say. I think we meet the hardship requirements, we meet all the setback requirements, and we have a lot of record. I should have said it's separately taxed. The lot is assessed for $108,000. The building on the lot is assessed for about $30,000. So we're paying, the owner is paying as if it's a buildable lot and has been doing that for many, many years. Of course, it's been used for a business for many, many years. Thank you.
On the hardship, do you want to speak anything on soil conditions, topography, or anything of that nature, other than just the building?
Well, the soil, we're hoping the soil conditions are okay, where it's been used as an automotive use for many, many years. That's going to be part of the investigation. But it looks okay, and there's no outward signs of any problem with that. But certainly the size of the lot is, it's what was, approved in the subdivision many, many years ago. It is what it is. It's about the same size as some of the lots. It's 6,600 square feet. It does have unusual topography. It drops off a bit. There's going to have to be some engineering that's done to accommodate that. Scott, I can't remember, is this a garage under?
No, we decided not to do a garage under, but there is about a 10-foot change in grade from Hawley Street to the location of the home, as there is on the lot next door. There's a little bit of a boulder or riprap retaining wall on the lot next door, so there is a significant slope up from Hawley to the building site.
So there'll be some significant work that'll have to be done to make it all work, but this does have unusual topography and in that, because of that, soil conditions. I don't think there's any ledge, but
it's quite high on the backside. And could you speak to how you intend to address when the topography is changed, if this is approved, to allow that house to go in there? How would you control the rapid runoff of water that they probably don't see today that may happen when it is graded. You got any comments on that?
Yeah, typically, when we proceed through the permit process, and even if it isn't shown on the plans, all the builders now are putting in infiltration systems for the roof runoff. So all of the downspouts are going directly into the ground now, as opposed to gutters that are running overland. The rest of the site, as you said, it currently drains from the top of the hill down to Holly Street. That won't change. It'll speed up a little bit because of the addition of the driveway, but all of that water is going to run out onto Holly Street and not impact any of the abutting properties. And then the additional runoff from the roof will be captured and infiltrated into the ground.
All right, that was a concern that I had, that right now, the water runoff from that, whatever water runs off from that lot right now, probably percolates pretty slowly.
Sure.
When this is developed, and you mentioned about a 10-foot drop, whatever water comes down is going to be, it's going to be moving right along. So I would hope that there would be something that would be thought of to make sure that we don't have wash out onto that street.
You know, of course, Mr. Chairman, that's a planning board matter.
It is.
And this would certainly be required to go before the planning board for site plan approval. And if that's not addressed, that's not going to go forward.
Well, I just want to remind you to bring that up when you go to planning.
I'll keep him in mind of that.
All right. I did some research on this and found that the original deed for the house on Lenox Street was 1920. And in 1948, Holly Street came in. It has been transferred to John and David on the same deed. It's been the same deed all along. It talks about two separate parcels. It talks about mets and bounds, all the things that we kind of look for in these lots. So my question is, we are not creating two lots from one. These two lots already exist with a set of mets and bounds and two separate deeds.
These two lots already exist, and I did the same research and gave that to Mr. Plouffe, and that was not the reason why he determined it was not buildable. Right. It was because of the so-called common use.
Yeah, I understand that.
But those lots have existed separately for years.
Yes.
And it's always been taxed separately.
And taxed correctly. That's
right.
Correct, yeah. So what we're looking for tonight is to grant a variance on, let's be specific now, lot size and frontage to construct a single-family home. And the frontage is 60 feet, which seems to be in conformance with others on that same street.
It's fairly common on that street.
Okay, very good. And the hardship, as you mentioned, is the existing building that's going to have to come out of there, and the shape and topography and the slope that's involved in preparing that lot.
Right, and in taking down that building, we'll obviously have to take care of this area as well, because it comes over the lot line. Mm-hmm. So that'll all be straightened out.
Board members, any questions? Everybody's good so far? All right, close that. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official that wants to be heard on the issue? Yes, please come forward.
My name is Cersei Hernandez, and I'm the owner of 50 Lenox Street, which I think is the house right next door to 40.
All right, hold on just 1 minute. You're going to ask
a question.
Yes, okay. I just hold on 1 second. Is there any elected official that wants to be heard on the issue?
I thought you were new.
Okay, seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone that has comments relative to the testimony? Now
I do. Thank you, sir. So I'm just...
You live?
I live at 50 Lenox, and I actually have a plot plan of my own that I have, because I don't read them, but I know this one. And I'm trying to figure out where my property is on that. Okay. I'm here.
You're right here.
Okay. And that's that old brown raggedy.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So where's my, my land? I mean, this is it. Okay.
Correct.
Because it looks like it's closer. This building looks like it's closer to the house.
It's connected.
It is connected, right.
This is the proposed building.
Okay. So, my question is there any negative impact on my property, the land? Because in that back, we're really joined together just by land, by trees and grass. Is there any negative impact on my property lines? The size of the building, I couldn't take all in everything you were saying, but the size of the building that's going to be potentially put up, it's going to be placed right in that spot. So it will be a house. Right, but this is where we're joined, in here, right in here.
Then I'll slope down.
Your property line along the Fogs is where the fire hydrant is on Lennox Street.
Right.
That is the property line right there.
Right, okay. So then I had another question. When is this project going to start? I mean, potentially, is it spring, summer, whenever? Only the noise and the construction and all that?
The demolition would probably be in a couple of months, and the new construction wouldn't be till the spring.
Okay.
If this variance is granted, they have 1 year to exercise that variance, and they can come back asking for 1 6-month extension.
Can you explain what's the variance and what's setback? These terms I'm not familiar with, so the variance is to allow them to build because there's not enough space, or?
Basically, that's what it amounts to, and what the board looks at is other properties in the neighborhood to see how it conforms to other properties. If there's something unique about that property, if it's in conformance with others, that is something that is considered by the board. The rear yard setback, the side yard setback, the front side that's what we look for. And if it's reasonable and it can be based upon a hardship that they're showing relative to this piece of property, then that's all considered by the board.
Okay. I'm just thinking of I have 2 lots. I have the house, and then I have a lot in the back. Actually, the deed, and this shows it as well. It's northerly lot 75, and easterly lots 43 and 44. And then there's southerly on Melbourne Road. So it doesn't impact any of that, excuse me.
No.
So it won't impact any of that.
Your 2 lots are
Here,
right
and
here.
here.
Here and here, right, 2 lots right like this.
Okay, because I go right into Melbourne. No. So that's just questions, just so my mind is clear in terms of what's really going to be going on. So that's all I have.
Very good. Thank you very much for your
Thank you.
participation. Is there anyone else that has any questions relative to the testimony that's been given? Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. I will now open it up for deliberation among board members. Board members.
I think just going up there and driving past the property, it would be obviously a huge taking down a lot of that greenery, or what there is of greenery, and that however they're going to level it out, I think it would be beneficial to the neighborhood and what you currently have now. So I think everything's overgrown. Anything what they can put there will definitely be much nicer than what is currently there.
I agree. You get rid of an eyesore and you kind of straighten out something in a neighborhood that, it's progression in my opinion.
Yeah, this is the best use for that lot, and I think the plan is conformant with the neighborhood.
I agree.
I don't think we're putting another garage in there to repair cars again, if that's, you know what I mean? It's going to make the whole nice area.
Motion to grant.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to grant. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Lanus.
Yes.
Chief Nadelli.
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry.
Yes.
Chair Galligan.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that's 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative.
Thank you.
The vote is 5 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The petition is granted.
You know?
The next petition, 2357, the petition of Manuel Ramos, 97 Oak Street, Brockton, Mass., seeking relief from Article 3, Section 27-9 and 27-13 for minimum area and frontage in order to subdivide the lot to construct 2 single-family homes on 2 newly created lots in an R1C zone located at Plot 41 West Street.
Good evening again, members of the board, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Clerk, Madam Secretary. Attorney John McCluskey presenting this case on behalf of Manny Ramos, who is with me here. There's a little bit of history as to how we got here tonight. Several months ago, there was a case that my office actually had before you. It was on Lawn Street, L-A-W-N, and the issue was that, similar to this case, we had one large lot that we wanted to subdivide. And although the board for years and years and years had historically allowed us to come before the board to do, to get the permission to subdivide, and then we would go forward to the planning board and do the subdivision approval. That night, we found out that there'd been a change in plans as to how we go about this. So that was denied on Lawn Street because we had one lot and it hadn't yet been subdivided. There were no so-called lots of record. So we had a series of meetings, one main meeting at City Hall consisting of lawyers and building department people and zoning board people. You can imagine how that went. But it actually went pretty well. But Megan Bridges determined, and she's our city solicitor, determined that we could create a lot of record by deed. So rather than come before you and ask you to take this large lot and divide it in 2, we created a trust for Mr. Ramos, and by deed created these 2 lots. This plan actually has gone before the planning board for preliminary subdivision approval a couple of months ago, and they actually approved it. Interestingly enough, we can't record this plan. It just isn't allowed, but we created, it's in the packet. We created a deed, so we created the lots by deed. And on this deed is Palm Realty Partners LLC, which is Manny's company, to West Palm Realty Partners, trustee of the 0 West Street Realty Trust. So on record now, there's a deed that describes the 2 lots, so they now are 2 lots of record. So that's the history there, and that has been blessed by the city solicitor, who told us we could and should create the lots by deed. I did have a conversation about this, and do we need 2 deeds? The answer really is no. It's like creating a law for the police and the fire department, and And one part of the same law says we give the police X amount of dollars in retirement benefits and the fire department X amount of dollars in benefits. It's on one law. That's okay. That flies. That's not a problem. So that being said, what we have before you tonight, this is, I believe this was formerly owned by the Lettermans, who owned the drugstore here, and now it's the D'Angelo's, and go up to the corner, and this is just a vacant lot, very good size lot. This lot will be 12,229 feet. This will be 14,400 and change. And 2 single-family, 4-bedroom homes? 4-bedroom homes. Very nice. You'll see the plans in the file. And basically, the hardship is that this is one big lot that's in a location where most of the lots, you don't find any residential lots of that size. This is a R1C, I believe, zone. And so we've created 2 lots that basically conform with the size and shape of the lots in the general area. So this is of unusual size, shape, soil conditions, and topography. And the hardship is that it's a vacant lot. And, you know, quite frankly, you're not going to find somebody come along to buy a big lot and put up a big home on that spot. This cries out for division and 2 lots. Makes a lot of sense here. I don't see any downside. It doesn't add to the traffic conditions by any means. It's near the light. The houses are in nice. There's a garage, and yeah, that's right. There's a garage attached, master bedroom over the top. So there's a master bedroom and sort of a family room on the second floor, 2 bedrooms on the first floor, 2 bedrooms on the second floor, 3 in total, and 1 on the first floor. Full basement, unfinished basement, and I just think that this works for this neighborhood. It'll be a nice addition to this otherwise vacant lot, which I've noticed over the years. When I was in college, I used to do painting for the Stengels, and I've known that lot, and people dump stuff on the lot. It's always sort of hard to manage and control. So I would respectfully request that you grant a variance to create 2 lots to allow 2 buildable lots here on the property.
Board members, any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I could. So is this the approved plan that we had approved? It looks like you had a couple of, just so the board members are familiar, I stipulated more plantings on the West Street side just for a little privacy for how busy the street was. And the lot line wasn't divided equally. It was kind of zigzag going up through the middle. So it looks like you took all of the recommendations. Am I correct by saying that?
I was not at that meeting, but I believe that this adopts everything that the planning board wanted.
All right.
It's going to be fence all around. You don't find a fence. All around.
Okay. I think that's perfect in that location.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
You're going to put a fence all around. You know, all the fence is going to be all around over here and here. You know, completely fenced. It's like all paved here, so look like a commercial space. So I'm just going to take it out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, are these 3,000 square foot homes?
I'm sorry?
The square footage for the homes, are they about 3,000? Or
Are they what?
Approximately 3,000 square feet.
Oh, the houses themselves, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, please repeat that so you can hear it over the microphone.
The houses will be approximately 3,000 square feet.
This property was before the zoning board in 1987, when a variance was requested to use this parcel of land for parking for the adjacent shopping center, and that was denied. And again, it came back before the board or prior to that, 1986, to use the parcel of land for parking for adjacent shopping center, and that also was denied. So there was a move to make this a commercial use, and it was denied at the time. The other thing to look at on this plan is that when they rebuilt West Street and lined it up with the 27 cutoff, they took a considerable piece of land away from this lot. As you can see, that curve that was never there years ago, that was pretty well squared away. So it now created a kind of a unique shape in the lot. All right, any other questions from the board members? Everybody's good? I'll close that portion. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official that wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, is there anyone in the audience that has a question relative to the testimony that has been given? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. That completes the public discussion. I'll now open it up for deliberations among the board members.
Go ahead, Chief. I would just say that, obviously I can't ever remember since I was a kid driving by this spot and anything being on this property. It's quite honestly an eyesore for anyone coming into the city off of Reynolds Memorial, going past the commercial properties. They start to come into some residential area and you just see this open, like, slab of asphalt. So I think, especially with what it sounds like Mr. Ramos is going to do with the fences and the growth, and you have two nice houses that are going to conform to that neighborhood. I think I really believe that'll spruce up that entire view when you come off of Reynolds Memorial. Especially, it's been denied for commercial twice now already as it is. So there's not, obviously, and no one is, and it was only going to be for parking space. You know what I mean? So we, all day long we can just sit there and stare at a big lump of asphalt, or we can have a couple of nice houses there. So,
in addition to the best use, I think, and this is a lot that you see empty shopping carriages, trash.
Yes.
I think it couldn't be a more suitable use, and I just think that, again, presentation off the highway, I just want to, it's everything for a city like Brockton, so.
I agree.
Yep. Motion to grant?
Second.
On the motion, it has been suggested to the chair that when these are recorded, it may make better sense to take a vote on Lot 1 and Lot 2 and actually give two variances so that...
I think I paid for two.
He wants his money's worth.
Because they are two, really now, they are separate lots.
Yeah, you know what he did.
I think it would behoove us to take two votes, one for Lot 1, Lot 2. Okay, so on your motion then, the motion to grant will be for Lot 1? Is that how you want it?
Yep.
Okay. So a motion has been made to grant a variance for Lot 1. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Lanus.
Yes.
Chief Nadelli.
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry.
Yes.
Chair Galligan.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that's 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative.
Okay, on Lot 1, the vote is 5 in the affirmative, none in the negative. We will now take a second vote relative to Lot 2. Somebody want to make a motion?
Motion to grant.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to grant. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Lanus.
Yes.
Chief Nadelli.
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry.
Yes.
Chair Galligan.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that's 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative.
Okay, the vote on Lot 2 is 5 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The variance has been granted for both Lot 1 and Lot 2.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you. The next petition is 2358, the petition of New Vision Enterprise, LLC, 188 Court Street, Brockton, Mass., for relief from Article 4, Section 2730, subsection B, a special permit to allow a multifamily residential 32 apartment use in a C3 zone, and seeking relief from Article 9, Section 2753 for parking and parking space size located at Plot 1-2 Franklin Street.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Chris Vale presenting on behalf of Joseph Goncalves, who's the manager of New Vision Enterprises. Along with us is Scott Ferrier from JK Holmgren Engineering and Kevin Paxton with BKA Architects. This petition, or the petitioner, is applying to the zoning board for a special permit to allow a multifamily residential use in a C3 zone under Article 4, Section 2733B, with waivers of the space standards in the R3 zone, Table 1. The petitioner also seeks relief from parking to allow for 1 space per dwelling unit, and Article 9, Section 2753 for parking and parking space sizes. Currently, the property is a vacant parcel of land in the downtown area. It is located at 0 Franklin Street, which runs adjacent to Court Street. This area of the project is one that the city has been eyeing as new development for years. Mr. Goncalves has experience in developing high-end projects, in which this luxury apartment building will have the following amenities with 32 apartments, 16 one-bedroom units, 16 studio units with open floor, a laundry facility in each unit, delivery space for postal, UPS, FedEx, and mail, one-to-one parking spaces per unit with 14 on-site, which would be below on the garage, and 18 to be leased from the city in a nearby parking lot. The on-site will have 7 spaces, 10 by 18, 6 spaces, 9 by 18, and 1 18 by 18, a ADA parking spot. We'll also have high-tech security with fob access garage doors, and the building is designed to provide maximum sunlight to each unit. And lastly, it will also have Energy Star rated building, including electrical vehicle charging stations for its residents. We're hoping that with the smaller sized vehicles with electrical, that they would fit in the 9 by 18 spots very comfortably. However, in the C3 zone under Article 3, 2718, there's no requirement for green space. However, Mr. Goncalves does provide for some green space on site with shrubbery trees as shown on the plan. The residents will also be close to the MBTA and BAT bus station, as it is in the downtown area, which has been favorably changing over the past few years, in which luxury residents of this nature will enhance the positive growth of downtown. The board has previously approved relief for projects of this nature, and this one is in the Urban Renewal District, and the studio one-bedroom units will be of similar or greater in size than what is already being offered within the city. The C3 ordinance refers to Table 1 space requirements when applying for the special permit. In this present case, Mr. Goncalves requests for relief from the 3-story height restriction as well as the density restrictions. The reason for this requested relief is that the proposed residence size and height would be in keeping with other buildings now located in that immediate area of downtown Brockton. Also, as the building is in such close proximity to the public transportation, it is requested to allow a one-to-one parking space for each residential unit. This seems reasonable due to the close proximity to the lease parking agreement by the city, for which 18 spaces will be leased by the petitioner for the benefit of its residents. As this project is located in the downtown area, although the R3 space standards must be looked to, applying them in this area probably doesn't make a lot of sense due to the downtown Brockton area changing, and there is now recognition that by bringing more people to live here, it will improve the economic vitality in the area that has suffered for years. With the proximity of public transportation in the BAT bus system as well as the commuter rail, higher density is acceptable and now encouraged. Also, by bringing in more people to live, shops and restaurants are more likely to locate in this area, and this type of development will be a win for the city. Mr. Goncalves has designed a project that will bring vitality to downtown Brockton. He will have a parking ratio of 1 space per unit, and many of his tenants will likely use the commuter rail, having that second car unlikely to be the objective of the residents. Also, the studio and 1-bedroom units, the chances of seeing a typical family with children here are also unlikely. Apartments of this nature will attract and provide an alternative for professionals who work in and around the Boston area as well, who either cannot afford the Boston rent, or professionals that would simply prefer to have lower rent while still maintaining access to Boston.
Jim.
Being close to the bus, the train, and the increased use of ride-sharing applications, the building will be suited to provide an urban living environment, often for people who do not own automobiles and can commute to Boston easily. This has already been seen in other similar new projects downtown. As most of the current commercial uses in a C3 zone do not fit with the proposed redevelopment of the area, granting a special permit and other relief requested would result in the highest and best use for this property and location. Also, the assessor has previously confirmed that developments of this nature will result in an increase to the tax revenue to the city by converting the use to residential. So we are asking for the board to grant this variance, that the proposed use will be a significant improvement to the neighborhood and will attract additional smart growth to the downtown area where it currently sits just vacant.
Mr. Veal, anyone who can answer, where are the charging stations going for electric vehicles? Please tell me not under the building.
Exactly, on the platform. Here what the spaces are, what the platform.
So they'll be underneath the property?
Yes, exactly, yeah. Which will all be gated also.
This is just, as the fire chief, outside of the zoning hat right now, this is a great concern for me. And this is something that needs to be addressed moving forward with our zoning ordinances and everything. Because, as you can see yesterday, at the Waltham Brigham Mass General, that was an electric vehicle into the building. It created a major issue, and we can't put these fires out easily. So I don't know, will this go to site plan review again, or are we?
I believe this will hit the planning board.
Yes, yes, it will, yeah.
I think, Mr. Gonzalez, I love the work you've done, and I think it's great for the city. I think this is something that we as a city have to address more than yourself.
Yes.
The issue is, Chief, the parking is all entirely within the building, with not only the city, but the state building codes now require, as you know, I'm not telling you what you don't already know, but we don't have a choice but to put them under the building. It's
Completely understand.
Yeah,
I know it's not on you.
Right.
It's on this technology is outpacing our ability to keep people safe.
Yep.
And this is my concern. Again, I only bring this up because I just was curious if you had some different innovative way to do something potentially. Yeah.
I mean, as we've talked about it, every planning board meetings, Deputy Chief Williams brings it up, tech review meetings, it's constantly brought up as a point of discussion, but with these downtown apartment buildings, there isn't much choice.
Scott, I 110% get it. It's something that we're trying to look at, but we have to balance that growth with the whole public safety aspect of it.
For sure.
And it's a beautiful building, and I'm in what you've done so far. As the fire chief, outside of the zoning portion of it, gives me palpitations, quite honestly.
I understand.
Chief, do you put those out with blankets?
No, not that. Okay. Well, we have to put it out with water, then you secure it with a blanket, with these glass fibered blankets when we move. There's a whole procedure that goes into it. The problem isn't necessarily the movement afterwards. It's what it's going to create under that building if there is an electric vehicle fire. And that's where the concerns, and this is going on everywhere. This is not just the city of Brockton. I just was curious if there was some other innovative thing you guys had come up with, but I completely understand.
I think we're waiting on you.
Yeah, we're trying.
Come up with something.
If the industry would help us out,
right.
It would be much easier, but they're not.
working with us.
And if there are any stipulations that we could do to make this safer, I know Mr. Goncalves would.
I'm
not
sure he would.
only-
Yes,
I'm sure he would, yeah.
I guess my question would be, so obviously, we saw another project. The street came in, the infrastructure is to the property line?
Yep, exactly. So as part of the redevelopment authority's subdivision that they've proposed, there's the first road coming in off of Petronelli, which has already been constructed from Petronelli to Franklin. A second road would go from Franklin to Court Street. So we're right on the corner of that property. So that new roadway would be right through here. So our garage entrance would be off of that new roadway.
So at least you can turn a corner, get off of Court Street, right?
Exactly,
And then
exactly.
take
And
your
we
time
did,
to pull
we've kind of kicked it around with the planning department, whether it was better to have an entrance off of Franklin Street or the new Hagler Way. And it was just determined that it was better to come off of Hagler Way than to have more vehicles coming out of a garage onto Court Street.
Right, okay. I do like how you added the additional green space, too. That helps quite a bit.
It's something.
So a subject of discussion has evolved that you are asking for a special permit. In a C3 zone, it is subject to R3 setbacks. So I think probably what we should be also asking for is a variance relative to the setbacks, so that we don't run into a problem later on if this is approved. All right.
I think I did put that with Table 1 R3 zone in the application, with a waiver from the space standards for the R3 zone.
Okay, so that would be a waiver from that.
Correct.
All right, so we're going to do a variance to grant you that.
Yes, please.
Okay, all right, so we both understand that part of it. All right, what we're granting. Relative to the height of the building, the city council recently changed the height regulations on buildings from 3 stories to 6 stories. So 6 stories is now allowed without a variance. You're telling us it's going to be 6 stories, correct?
Correct. Oh,
This is
5 stories, so it's even one smaller.
Okay, so you're okay on that part of it. So I think what we should do is, if you can explain to us perhaps what a hardship would be on the side setbacks, have a go at it.
Yes, I think just the unique size of the lot as it is, with trying to build something of this use that would be in the best use of the location is a hardship on itself.
So if the side yard setbacks were what they are in the book, technically you would be very hard pressed to even build a building on what's left.
Correct.
I believe it's 20 and 10 is the front and the side. R3?
Go ahead.
It would be 10 on each side, in an R3 zone.
Okay. Yeah, so pretty much all the way around.
That would limit parking as well as sizes of the units, and that would be our hardship.
Okay, I appreciate that. As far as the parking sizes, most of the parking spaces are acceptable for what's in zoning right now. And I think the board realizes that down the road, that is going to have to be looked at. And I think what you have proposed here for sizes of parking within the garage is reasonable, in my opinion. The one thing that I think we collectively, between the zoning board and the planning board, are going to have a hard look with the parking authority as to how many parking spaces they are allowing for all of this development downtown. I just want to state my concern that so many of these projects are coming with parking that's allocated by the parking authority. I think at some point, we've got to have a discussion with the parking authority as to how much they've given out and what's left, so as to speak.
And what we're building, what we should build.
Yes, so I just want to say that publicly, and my compadre here on the planning board can carry that I think in the future, we're really going to have a decent discussion with the parking authority as to truly what is available for parking in the downtown area. All right, and Hagler Way right now is developed between Petronelli and Franklin. It's going to be extended to Court.
That's correct.
Is that part of your development, or is that something the city is going to do?
It is not. That's something the city and the redevelopment authority undertook.
Okay. Okay, and the other thing that is interesting is the travel lane inside the garage. It appears as there's sufficient room for 2 cars to get in there and make a turn and get in and out. And the discharge from the garage is on a side street. It's not on a main drag like Court Street would be.
That's correct.
That's huge. All right, board members, any other questions? Everybody's good so far? All right, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Nobody hiding over and back there?
Mr. Chair, if I could just squeeze one more question in.
Yes, you can. Go ahead.
I guess, when would you look to build? Outside of getting through the planning board and going through that process, when would you look to break ground on this one?
We would actually hopefully look to break ground once we get DHCD approval, because this is actually a project that's located, of course, in the Gateway City, and we are utilizing HDIP, so it would be something kind of contingent to the state. I would say probably within 12 to 18 months would be in kind of a perfect scenario for us to start working on that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Keep in mind the constraints, if this is given tonight, what the constraints are with that, so just keep that in mind. All right, is there anyone else that wants to speak in favor? In favor? Good. Okay, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone that wants to speak in opposition? Please come forward. Please give your name to the clerk.
Brian O'Connor. My family owns and operates an adjacent property. It's at 9 Montello Street. And this isn't a vacant lot right now. It had been used by my tenants for parking for years. And the city has provided parking passes in an alternative location. That location hasn't been working out for our tenants.
It has not?
It has not been working out for our tenants. Part of the reason is the use case of a tenant coming off a second shift, and now they're not finding reliable parking. And in addition to that, the criminal activity seems to have upticked, and we've noticed more break-ins, stolen vehicles from the lot that we're using now. And my tenants are upset about it. And I'd like to use the lot we'd been using before. I need a long-term solution, and you mentioned parking. I think the time is sooner than later. I think it needs to be looked at before a variance is granted, especially for the parking, because I think it exacerbates the issue, those 18 spaces.
What lot are you in right now? Are you on the courts between Court and Franklin?
We had been at the 0 Franklin, which had been known as Lot E, and we are now in Lot C, which is between Franklin and Petronelli.
Okay, so they moved you across the street?
Right.
Okay.
So it's close enough to be functional. But right now it's shared, and it's not working out. I want to know that there's a long-term solution for our tenants. You know, we get parking passes, and our tenants already are asking for more passes, they need more, they'd like to have more. There's commercial spaces on the ground floor. They'd like to have customers, give customers a pass. That's not the case right now. We don't have enough as it is.
So you heard the comment that I made a little while ago. I think it's getting close to time to have a good discussion relative to that. But I will say that the petition that's before us tonight, we have a letter from the parking authority that they have sufficient parking to allow the petitioner to park in their lot.
I'd like to see their plan, you know. I'd like to see buy-in from the other departments that the spaces are allocated and not double-dipped anywhere.
So
I know
maybe-
that the Lot C that we're on right now is not owned by the city.
Maybe where you should go is to the parking authority with your concern relative to what you've brought up tonight. That may be the right forum to be in. But I just want to let you know that as part of the decision that we will be making here tonight, the parking authority has notified us through the petitioner that they have sufficient parking for what they're requesting.
Understood.
Yep. So I'd suggest you go to the parking authority and ask those very same questions.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you. Is there anyone else that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official here that wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone that has any question relative to the testimony that has been given? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. That concludes the public discussion. I'll now open it up for discussion among the board members.
This is in stride with what we're trying to achieve in the downtown.
Yeah, I think it's a great project, and it's something that we've passed, that we've allowed in the past.
We will have to look at parking in the master plan sense of everything combined, but, hopefully that's a discussion that more folks, not just us, will have and find a solution for long-term growth.
Right.
I think, too, the track record of what Mr. Gonzalez has built and what he's done thus far has shown that, he works very closely with the city in trying to accomplish all the needs that got to be taken care of and things of that nature, which I think as a city official, it makes obviously my job a lot easier, you know what I mean? So, he understands what he's trying to accomplish, he understands where we're coming from, and he wants to make it work, so.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to grant. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Two votes for a special permit and for a variance.
Two different ones? Two.
Oh, that's right, we added the variance, yeah. All right, so it has been brought to the attention of the chair that we really should do two votes on this. One is for the original special permit, and the second will be for the variance. So the first vote we will take will be relative to the special permit. The motion that has been given is relative to the special permit, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, let's go.
Mr. Lanus?
Yes.
Chief Nardelli?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry?
Yes.
Chair Galligan?
Yes.
That's 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, Mr. Chair.
The vote is 5 in the affirmative, none in the negative, to grant the special permit. Now we will take a second vote to grant a...
Motion to grant a variance.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to grant the requested variance. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Lanus?
Yes.
Chief Nardelli?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry?
Yes.
Chair Galligan?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that's 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative.
The vote is 5 in the affirmative, none in the negative relative to the variance. Petition is granted.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Board.
Everyone, I do appreciate it.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Thank you, everyone.
As well.
The next petition is 2359, the petition of Muhammad Islam Trustee, 23 Hearthstone Road, Southeastern Mass. For a variance from Article 4, Section 2729, and Article 9, Section 2753, and Article 9, 2753 to allow a 5-unit apartment building that has been shut down since 2017 by the Board of Health, along with parking relief, additional 3 spaces from Plot 199 in a C1 zone located at 237 Warren Avenue in the front, and Plot 192, which is 252 Warren Avenue. Are we in a C1 zone here? I got it as C2.
I've got it as C2 on my plan, but
Yeah, let's just make sure we're in the right zone. I don't know where the C1 came from.
C2 on the application.
C2 zone.
C3 on the application.
Yeah. It's down at the bottom too.
While the clerk is looking that up, I will just offer that this petition has been before us 3 times in the past. Once in 2018, once in 22, and again in 22, and all 3 times was withdrawn.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. May I proceed, Mr. Chairman?
Just hold on one second.
Okay.
Let's see if we can just get this C2. What's your plan show over there, C2?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I thought so. Yeah, my plan shows C2 also. Huh?
Yeah, I'm checking that right now.
Yeah. All right, why don't,
C2, Mr. Chair.
C2 is correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so in my reading, I mentioned in a C1 zone, that is going to be a C2 zone. Everybody good with that? Okay. Mr. Green.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Attorney Jake Creedon. With me is Scott Farrier of J.K. Holmgren and Deb Balkarik, who is the architect for the floor plans in the house itself. The owner is also with us, Mohammed Islam. He has owned that since 2018. It is a C2 zone. For those who have visited the property or go by it every day, it finds itself between the 2 lights at High Street and West Elm Street. So there's 2 lights at either end in between. It's directly across the street from the Boys and Girls Club. I would tell you that the lot area is 9,028 square feet. It's 2 buildings, front and back. It has been in existence since 1900, although I believe my research suggested that that second building went in 1930. The present status, and I have to give you this history, as the chairman has indicated, this has been before the board 3 times withdrawn, basically because Scott and I were not comfortable with a number of the situations that were existing at the time. We ultimately, we tried to get Jerome Dixon, who was the original architect for the property. He went out of business, left the area, left the state, so it took us almost a year to find out whether his plans were any good or not. Scott then stepped up. We got together. We ultimately hired Deb here to do the floor plan, because one of our concerns and one of our withdrawals was that the layout in the existing plans that were done by Bruce Malcolm and Jerome Dixon weren't easy enough for this board to see. And you will see when Deb has the plan there, it's one of the finest floor plans as far as being able to understand it. It is colored, each apartment. I can tell you the history of this situation is that the legal use for the building in back has been reconfirmed by the building department. It is a occupied 3-family. It's been occupied for many years. When Mohammed bought this, there was already problems there, and that problem was that it led to the Board of Health shutting the building down in front. The building in front was originally approved in legal use in 2010 to be a mixed use. There was out front, for those of us that are older, there was a bar room there and a partial real estate office owned by John O'Leary. I can tell you, and I don't think you can disagree, its highest and best use is not commercial, and certainly even though technically it's still approved for commercial in a commercial zone, we would abandon that use completely. Originally, it was filed because the legal use indicated that it was 6 in that building in front and 3 in the back. We have reduced it to 5 for a number of reasons. That was the reason for another withdrawal. We thought that the so-called 6 space was really too small and not safe. Deb will help us with showing the floor plan in a short while. Again, the Board of Health indicated it broke down, and the letter that they sent, which were mainly technical situations, the water wasn't hot enough. There were originally 6 gas meters there, which were leading to all 6 apartments. They have been recently taken out because of the non-use. It has been vacant, again, since 2018 when that letter happened. My client, Mr. Mohammed, with Scott and myself, have made numerous improvements on that situation, taking care of the Board of Health, to which we got a clearance from the Board of Health that those things that were bothering them were fixed. And the last thing they told me was that the reason for the shutdown was really that 15 to 20 vagrants were just stopping in. It was so close. They went in and stayed there overnight. Some of them stayed for weeks. So there was no real control there. We are proposing, again, that we do 5 units. The units, Deb will tell you, are basically apartment number 1 is a studio. It's on the 1st floor. You will see that it has 2 separated, beautiful entrances and exits. It's done in green. For your, I believe you have a packet that indicates that. And so that's very clear to see where apartment 1 is. Floor 2, second floor, apartment number 2 is a 2-bedroom. Again, good separation and good exits and good entrances should there be any fires or any other situation. That's done in blue. The 3rd apartment, which is on the 2nd floor, is a 1-bedroom. It's yellow lined for easy seeing, and it is a 1-bedroom. Also on the 2nd floor is apartment number 4, and that apartment is a 4-bedroom. It is in red. It has good separation and 2 definite clear exits, as you can see. You'll be able to see in Deb's presentation there. And the 5th apartment, which is on the 3rd floor, is a 2-bedroom, 2 exits, and that is in purple. If I can step in front here to make sure that each of those situations, Deb, you just...
Councilor, could you please use your microphone?
If you, Deb, would just indicate apartment 543, what the bedroom situation is and where the exits are, and I'll try to follow it with my red dot here.
Good evening, everybody. So this building is already in existence with 6 units that we're eliminating 1 unit, so it will be 5 units. So the conditions that are shown are existing, and I've indicated the 2 means of egress for each unit with the arrows showing for each apartment. So this is apartment 5 that is on the top, so there's a egress from the rear through a exit stairwell that's on the exterior of the building, and the other means of egress is through an interior common stairwell.
Question before you leave that.
Yep.
That back stairway, is that an exterior fire escape?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
There will be some additional, if granted, fire escapes like the one you see out front to be in code compliance.
What does that mean?
So there actually already is all the exterior stairwells and interior stairwells, the 2 forms of egress, are currently in existence and compliant. Since the building hasn't been updated and is estate that needs to be renovated, for more modern living. This door, for instance, is undersized, and there's a step up into it. So there are some minor renovations that would need to be performed, that would be done during the building permit.
My quick question was, the stairways that you're showing, this exterior stairway
It's in existence and compliant.
It's a fire escape?
Yes.
The fire escapes that we see on the building when we go there, those escapes are going to stay where they are?
Correct.
Okay, good, thank you.
This is the level below, and the apartment 4 is in the red-orange, which is this half of the building. So again, there's one exit at the rear and another one here that takes you through the common stairwell. Apartment 3 has exits from that same common stairwell and has another egress here, which is onto the existing fire escape that's on the exterior of the building. And the first floor this is apartment 1 that's in the green, that's existing. So they have an exit here from the front side, and then it's a separate stairwell that is the second means of egress here. And then apartment 2, which is in blue, has an exit through it has a side exit through here through the front, and then also an exit through a common hallway through a existing entrance as well. And then the basement unit, which I have here, is just unoccupied, and I think this was the space that formerly was potentially the commercial space. There's no use or
Nothing in there.
nothing in there currently.
But the mechanics are down in the basement also.
And just to point out, to clarify, this area right here, where it's indicated as storage, this was the unit that I believe would have made it the 6th unit. That is now going to be eliminated and will just be for the landlord for common storage.
Scott, would you just briefly go on the site outside situation? We are going to eliminate a couple of things for safety purposes. The driveway actually at its smallest point is 12 feet wide, and it goes to 14 feet wide.
It's definitely a tight space. We have 10 spaces shown. The spaces are 9 by 20, conforming with the zoning. We do have them stacked 3 spaces right here in front of the other. As Jake said, it's about a 14-foot distance between the 2 buildings. There's a couple of stairways that stick out that actually make that 14 feet even smaller. Get rid of it as part of the building process.
The third withdrawal, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, was we had our Mr. Mohammed Islam purchase the lot next door, the immediately abutting one, and would put 3 parking spaces there, which makes it for, I would say, for 9 units, 6 and 3, for 8 units, it makes it more than enough parking. It is in the core city. Certainly, again, the highest and best use is not to have any commercial there. It's one of the busiest streets in Brockton. The lighting situation helps because you can get in and you can get out. From a strictly fire safety point of view, the hydrant is directly in front of that building. It also has 2 vacant lots, one which is a permanent parking lot for the courthouse, which is open, on the Clinton Street side that abuts, and on the north side of the building, there's another huge vacant. So if you had to fight a fire from 3 different areas with our modern equipment, we don't see a problem for that. In other words, the truck wouldn't have to come on the property, in our opinion, any of the trucks. see, I'll get right to the hardship situation. This is, in my opinion, one of the few things that has a number of hardships, including the one that's the least effective and the least popular, and that is a financial, which is part of, incidentally, a hardship, and that is, since 2018, Mr. Islam has been paying taxes on that building fully and hasn't received a dime of income in the situation. The topography of the lot, obviously, these are existing lot of record, as they going back to 1900. It's definitely odd-shaped. It's a hammerhead to get through there. It's a existing two buildings that can't be changed. The setbacks can't change. So it leads right into it, obviously, and I think the strongest point, it's a structural hardship. The topography also gets in there because if you've seen it, from Warren Ave to the rear of that property slopes up, and it's fairly significant. Scott, maybe 5 to 10 feet? Yeah. So those are, again, and I said the shape and the size, are existing. Mr. Islam has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to fix up, to take care of the inside of the property, to make it able to be certificate of occupancy again. And again, because it is been a residential use for years and years and years, all you have to do is look immediately around it, and all of the uses around it are residential multifamily. It doesn't have a chance of being a commercial use anymore. So I think that is the significant hardship we have here. I think that is basically what we want to tell you, and we're looking again for the residential use to have it reinstituted again since 2018. The Board of Health situations have been taken care of. There will be further building, if granted, further building minor things, as Deb has indicated, concerning the size of the door or modernizing the actual fire escape. But each place has two beautiful exits. It's clear enough to actually make it safe again. I would think, and I know that because Mr. Islam has many other Brockton properties, rental properties, that he will be managing that situation so that the downtown homeless, or as the Board of Health call them, vagrants, won't be coming in there and sleeping.
Could I, real quick, Mr. Islam, if you might be able to answer this question. There are currently nobody living in that property right now? You're not receiving any rent from anybody?
I saw the handyman, the street people go inside. He broke my window.
Just speak up to the microphone. Bring the microphone.
Yes. So just today, Mr. Islam, so you're aware of this, there are multiple vagrants in that home with propane tanks that I can't put in my living room, bedding, the doors were not locked. So to the point of you keeping that building secure, that's not the case at all. So I have deep concerns as to how this project will operate when you're telling me nobody's living in there and they've set up furniture in this building.
No, nobody living, I don't know about that.
Well, that wasn't the case today. They might not be since about 3 o'clock this afternoon. So I wanted to just clarify that the security of the building and what your counsel is telling us that you're probably telling him is not the case. So as the fire chief, that's a serious issue with me.
I can tell you, Chief, I've been on the property in the daylight probably 15 times in the last 2 years, and When I initially went in with him, there were mattresses and a whole bunch of other things. I've been in there since. There were no mattresses. There was no one living in there, no blankets or sleeping bags. That's all I can tell you personally.
And I can show you the pictures from this afternoon, Council, I'm just so you know.
I just wanted to just speak to the due diligence of the owner, that when I was hired to survey the existing conditions, he told me the building was unoccupied and I could be free to access the property, but it was quite an ordeal for the owner to remove the plywood and the multiple locks that he had, and there were no other ways to get in that were visible to me. When I went there, there was no signs of trash or evidence of people living there. So if there are people living there, I don't think it's, at least my observation from trying to access the property, it seemed like it was secured fully. And I also would think like making this into a habitable, rentable space would help cut down on that illegal use of the building.
I can also reiterate that on the probably 15 times I've been there, each time when I met with Mr. Islam, the big main door, we had to have his manager or assistant with a pinch bar pull the plywood away. It was at least half-inch, maybe three-quarter-inch plywood to get in there. And there was no lights, so we had flashlights.
And that's fine.
Okay.
What I'm telling you is what was happening today.
Sure.
And everything was wide open. And the building commissioner can attest to that.
I guess I have a question to you folks. By adding more housing, what's the plan to solve your current issues? I mean, if we have these problems now, creating more housing, you could see where that might go. And my second concern is having these issues not under control next to one of our largest child care facilities. So if you can answer those two questions.
Well, I can only tell you that I've actually met with the administration on this matter, and he had indicated that he would have some security people there on a regular basis and maybe a live-in manager.
Is that there now?
No.
Okay.
No. But there's no question there's still up and down, even worse each day, because I'm on Legion Parkway, the influx of homeless being dropped in Brockton every 7 or 10 days. They walk up and down Moran Ave right by this place, and there are a number of young mothers with babies doing the same thing. So there has to be a control situation by Mr. Islam, and it's got to be either in the form of a property manager or his own guy being there every single day at closing time to make sure that there's nobody overnight.
Is there a definitive plan?
Is there what?
A definitive plan for that? Is there something that's structured, or is that
Not
what we're
that I
saying
know
now?
of, no.
Okay.
But it was discussed with the mayor, I can tell you that.
Okay.
We did discuss that.
I would just think too, since the building is unoccupied, that, if you're homeless and people know that it's unoccupied, that it just is an easy place to potentially reside. But if there's 5 tenants and we're each paying to live there, then I don't want a homeless person living in my unit. So I think that really is going to help eliminate like random people coming in and being in the building. I think in the beginning, where that change is occurring, there perhaps needs to, potentially be some security or
I think that
measures
needs to be
that
in
are
place
made.
now. Yeah, I mean, that's right next to a child care facility. And
Exactly.
the uses and what goes on in those buildings is atrocious.
And I think actually having it be habitable, rentable units would actually improve the situation, I would
It's
think.
a rentable unit now.
But it isn't really.
Right. Why?
It isn't. I think that.
We have to get back in there and fix up things and make it secure. And there will be a plan for sure to do that, because he obviously got, as soon as he bought the place, Board of Health shut him down because vagrants, 15 to 20, I've got the written thing from the Board of Health, each day we're sleeping in there. That can't happen, I think, as Deb said, with new renovations and property manager and him back getting rent for the property. I mean, it's going to be an improvement. If we leave it like it is, it's going to be a fire trap extraordinaire, because it hasn't been occupied technically since 2018.
Well, those are my concerns.
Yeah.
The current issues, and of course, you've got kids next door, so.
Just to clarify, I just wanted the building inspector, just to clarify the issue that the chief had brought up, just so that the owner of the building probably may not be aware of what's been going on. So I'll just let him speak for a second to bring up to speed here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This afternoon, about 3 o'clock, I was contacted by our Social Services Director for the City of Brockton, who indicated that she had information that there was a couple and their young child living in the property with no utilities, no heat. So we sent over a Board of Health agent who is under my command since July 1st, which I will take issue with the comment by your council that the Board of Health has blessed the place, because it has not. But also that the place is open to the public, open to the weather and open to vagrants. And the police had to search the building to make sure that it was empty so it can be secured again. And instead of sending the city people over to secure the building on our dime, I instructed them that I would indicate in public hearing tonight to the public that I'm telling Mr. Islam he has to correct his violations over there, close that building, and secure it from anyone entering it by noon tomorrow.
Now, did they say how they got in there?
The side door is wide open.
I can't argue with that. Again, every time I've been there,
Non-forced.
it's gone through.
Correct.
Non-forced, correct,
Non-forced.
Mr. Commissioner?
Correct.
So it's not like someone forced their way in. The door was left open.
Okay.
The locks are dummied.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I just think it's important that the owner know that this has been discovered today, and that's the situation. So anyway, as part of this whole discussion.
Okay.
The building next door at number 252, I think you mentioned that he had purchased that building?
Yes, and it's a single-family house.
Right. That single-family house came before us on zoning many years ago, and I remember that there was a stipulation that it remains a single family with 3 specified parking spaces. So on this plot plan that has been prepared, it looks like spaces 8, 9, and 10 that could possibly go with number 238. Those spaces actually go with 252. So the people that are living in 252, according to a zoning decision, have 3 spaces that are assigned to that house.
Okay, there is other room there for at least one other vehicle, maybe 2.
Okay, I just
And
want...
I didn't get to indicate that I believe even the new tenants, where they get in there, these are people that don't own a car and don't have driver's licenses. They are core Brockton people, some of which earlier when Mr. Victorine, I think, owned it, those people weren't driving cars, and they were living downtown, and they were there long-term, paying their rent and maybe having a part-time job.
Well, my only point is, when the case came to us to 252, after deliberation, the board at the time decided that that was a stipulation that went with that particular, and I think there was an addition that they were looking for at the time. So all I'm saying is those 3 spaces were specified to be attached to number 252. So if he owns it, I just want to bring that out.
Fine. I don't know why there'd be 3 spaces for a single family back then, but...
I think there was some family members, there was a number of people that were going to be living in that house called single family. You know how it goes, so.
Okay.
Spaces number 5, 6, and 7. Space number 5 appears to be, when we measure the width of those 9 by 20s, we're measuring right from the fence. So in order to get a car in 5, 6, or 7 and still maintain that 13 feet, that car has to be tight right to the fence. There's no, you agree with that, yeah? And to make the turn with that 12-foot radius between the buildings, you got the gas meter sitting right in front of the house. It appears as though the stairway, which used to be the front stairs for number 244, have been relocated to the side of the building?
Correct.
Yeah, that opened up that alleyway, so it's
Yes.
just a little.
Again, that was one of the three reasons we had to withdraw, because Scott and I said it won't fly. You know, we have
it
to
would
try to
not.
get in compliance.
What happens on this property for rubbish removal? With all these apartments, is there going to be a dumpster somewhere, or how is that going to get handled?
Well, there was, Mr. Islam tells me, curbside pickup
I don't
by
know
the
if
city.
I don't know if the city does that with that number of apartments.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Not
but-
positive? Yes.
We certainly, I think there's room. I did check out when I was over there today, this morning. There looks like there's enough space right in the front of the building, right under one of the stairwells, to fit a dumpster.
We can do that dumpster.
Huh?
We can do that dumpster.
Yeah, I know, but we're going to find space to do it and do it to code and close it and all of the other situations.
Yep, it's a tight fit there. And my other question relative to snow removal,
Off-premise.
what are you going to do with snow removal?
Well, there's not a lot of area for snow to fall, but if it does, Scott and I discussed that, he's going to remove it because he has other properties and trucks that, in Brockton, that has a similar situation. How many other units do you have?
I have altogether 32 units.
32 other units, so he is set up to do that.
Those other 32 might be fine. I'm looking at this one right here. And I'm just saying that it's going to be quite a challenge to get snow off of the north side of 244 through that 14 to 12 foot. It's a challenge. I don't disagree with you there. I'm disappointed that the rooms never gave us any room sizes. The plans don't show any room sizes.
I do have square footages listed for the units.
Exterior, but I'm just saying, like, a room size, how big is a bedroom? How many square feet in a bedroom?
They vary in size.
Huh?
They vary in size.
Yeah, I know it. But, I mean, you look at this, and then if you walked in and saw the finished product, you might be quite surprised at how small a bedroom is. And when you look at the original plan where they wanted to put a studio apartment on that first floor on the north side, my God, that was a disgrace.
And just on that, Mr. Chairman, bedroom 1, whichever unit this is here, is 12 by 15. In this unit here, building 2, it looks like it's about 12, well, it's at least 12 feet wide, probably about the same, but I think 12 by 15 gives you.
So this is a 2.5-story wood frame building. It was probably built for 2 families, maybe 3 at the top, if somebody wanted to live on the top floor. And we've really kind of chopped up these floors. And like the first floor front, you can see what used to be the living room that's now been made into something that's a little bit different. This is a challenge.
There was 6 units in there for a long, long time, Chief.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman.
And just to clarify, this is existing conditions, so I haven't created a proposed plan to improve the layout or size of bedrooms. This is the way it existed and when it was inhabited. And so it appears that they're just looking to, be able to occupy and use the building as it formerly was, minus 1 unit.
And the retail situation.
What about the retail?
Well, it's not being used, hasn't been used in years, and we would abandon that use conditionally, in any decision.
That's a pretty inviting basement use right off the sidewalk. I mean, really, it's... I just wish that the plan that before us tonight was probably a plan of what is the final product for this building, rather than what we're seeing tonight is here's what's there, we'd like you to approve what's there, and we will try to improve upon it. That's kind of what I'm feeling from this whole discussion. And I really think that in order to get this thing through, I think, my opinion, that, and I'm not deliberating right now, but I'm just saying that I think it's an overstretch for the number of apartments, and the building was never designed to be what it is. So if it's going to go from what may have been 3 units to 4 units, and we had a plan so that we could look to see how the interior of that building is going to be laid out, to me, it would be very helpful. I'm just looking at this plan, and you're telling us this is what it is, and we'd like to get this approved, and by the way, that one apartment that was on the front, we did away with it. But what else has changed? We got exterior fire escapes all over the place from the upper floors. This building was never designed to have fire escapes. This was all added because the building was built into something that was never meant to be. So I think when I make my deliberations tonight, I got to think long and hard about people that are going to be living in this. Is this going to be a safe situation? There's a lot to be digested here. So
I just wanted to clarify and point out, in case it isn't, just that this is an existing building, and that unless the work for it to be the units that are in existence was illegally permitted, this building has gone through permitting to be the units that it is, unless it's illegal, which that's not.
It's non-conforming.
It's not to my knowledge, it isn't. And so the alterations that the owner is wanting to make would be considered a level 1 alteration for an existing building, which is essentially just making improvements to that are minimal, like that are associated with upkeep and maintenance, really. And there's a level 1 alteration, level 2 alteration, level 3 alteration, which kick in different level of building code requirements. So the more you renovate, the more you're required to conform to the current codes, which could be a very sizable financial difference between, say, doing level 1 alterations and level 3 alterations. And my understanding was just that the owner just wants to be able to use it as it had been previously permitted. So it wasn't really my purview to see could I come up with a better plan or, more spacious bedrooms. Of course I could, but that's not really what I think is before you today. So I just wanted to clarify really that it's what's in existence.
And there was no voluntary abandonment by Mr. Islam. Again, he got shut down because of vagrants and everything, and is trying to get it back up and running. The financials of that situation are horrendous at this stage.
has this building got a sprinkler system in it?
Pardon me?
Is there a sprinkler system?
Does not.
No, but we were willing to do that.
That would be a requirement by the building inspector?
I think after 3, if 4 or more.
It depends, Mr. Chair.
On the amount of money.
It depends.
It depends.
If it's less than 7,500 square feet and it's not a change of use, then it may not be a required. However, I think, as you pointed out, there may be certain measures that we would take, including like providing fireproofing in the common corridors and exit signage and so forth, and potentially a residential sprinkler system if that was what was required by the fire department and the building inspector.
Okay, a simple question was there is no sprinkler system in the building now, and the simple answer is it may or may not be required. There you go. Okay, that answers my question. Board members, any other questions? Everybody's good so far? Okay, I'm going to close that portion. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none in the audience, I do have an email that has come in to us from the Brockton Boys and Girls Clubs of Metro South. It's a long letter, and in the letter it says, I am reaching out to admittedly request that this relief not be granted to the owner of record. He has done nothing in the past to ensure that tenants will conform with said policies and thus creating a disturbance to our operation. He has made it clear to the administration of the Boys and Girls Club that he does not take his landlord responsibility seriously or even given the time to listen to concerns regarding this property in the past. So I just want it read into the record that the Brockton Boys and Girls Club has submitted written testimony that they are opposed to granting this request. All right. Is there any elected official that wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone that has any question relative to the testimony that has been given tonight? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. That concludes the public discussion on the issue. I will now open it up for discussion among the board members.
Chairman, the date of the letter from the Boys and Girls Club?
Sure.
December 3rd.
Sunday, December 3rd.
Thank you.
Yep.
I guess my concern is the expanded use of the property, considering the violations, considering the proximity to a childcare facility, and that childcare facility is looking to expand and looking to have more children on that site. So those are my concerns per the use.
I will just believe, I'm concerned about what's going on in the building and the fact that the owner has no understanding that it's going on. And according to, speaking to the people at the Boys and Girls Club, when I was overlooking at the building the other day, this has been an ongoing issue. So if it's that type of property that's going to be, I don't think it's right for the downtown area when we're bringing in all these projects. They're going to beautify the downtown with beautiful green space and all these other things. And if we have a position where we have a property owner who's not watching over the property, and we're finding a family living in the house, that when I tell you they set up a house in this property, that is a major concern.
Yeah, I agree with the chief. I don't understand how Mr. Islam didn't go by and just check, knowing that each member of the zoning board goes by there, does their own investigation. At least, a couple of weeks ago, come by and just investigate the place and see if there's a door open at least.
I just think that the house was never designed to be used in the fashion that's being used. It probably has a future, but I just think what's before us tonight is not the best use of that piece of property. And with all the complaints that we've heard and problems that we've identified, I have serious considerations that if this is approved, we're going to go right back to where we were before.
Motion to grant.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to grant. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Lanus?
No.
Chief Nardelli?
No.
Mr. Sweeney?
No.
Ms. Greenberry?
No.
Chair Galligan?
No.
Mr. Chair, that's 0 in the affirmative, 5 in the negative.
Vote is none in the affirmative, 5 in the negative. The petition is denied.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. That is the final case before us this evening. Again, just before we leave for tonight, have a happy holiday season, and we'll see you next year.
Thank you, too, Chief. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's made to adjourn. We are adjourned.